Hello guys, the music you are listening right now isn't from any of the synth engines or factory sound from the OPZ. Rather, the whole tracks including drums, pads and the lead sound are completely sampled directly from one of my track, Yesterday Once More, that I created in Ableton Live. With the latest 1.2.5 firmware update, it adds the new sampling mode, which basically turned the OPZ into a full-featured sampler. Now, you can use the OPZ to directly sample drum kits or synth sound from the computer or iOS devices. In this tutorial, I will show you step by step how to sample your music from the computer into the OPZ and use the samples to compose your music on the OPZ. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is to go to the Teenage Engineering official website and download the latest firmware for the OPZ. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna go to the support section and click downloads. As you can see here, we have the OPZ latest OS version with 1.2.5 and click the downloads. Let's just find it, click to download, right? So while it's downloading, you can see the new updates features the new sampling mode with the 2-channel audio interface. This is what we want. Okay, once we download the firmware into the local drive, what we're gonna do next is to hold the screen button while holding the power. So what we're gonna do is to keep pressing the screen button and turn on the OPZ, which will essentially enable the disk mode, right? So if we now go to our computer, and we shall see the there's a new USB drive representing the OPZ. So we're gonna go back to the downloaded firmware, copy, and go to the OPZ drive just to paste into the root directory here. Now, what we're gonna do next is to eject the media drive, right? So we're just gonna single click the USB drive and to select the eject the USB drive. And you will notice that as soon as we've done so, the OPZ will update itself. And then when the O is finished, it will restart. Now I think we have successfully upgrade our OPZ to the latest OS. So now it's ready to do some sampling now. Once you upgrade to the latest OS, when you turn on the OPZ and also connect the USB cable to your laptop or computer, what you will notice on the speaker section, if you click, there should be a OPZ sound card available here. So first we need to do is to choose the OPZ as the speakers, right? So that everything you played from the computer will send into the audios through that USB cable into the OPZ, so that OPZ can start to sample whatever gets played on your computer. So I mean, you can actually, for example, just use the default media player to play a sample and start to record into the OPZ. So what we might need to do is, in this case, it might help if we got extra screen to show what's going on under the hood. So I'll just push scan. and connect OPZ to my OS device, so we can monitor what's going on inside the OPZ, right? But once you get used to this operation, you don't actually need that screen. So first of all, let's just start a new pattern. I'll just select this one as the new pattern. So it's a brand new pattern. You might actually want to choose which track you want to sample from. So in this case, I want to choose the first one. So by pressing the I and the first one, right? So when you keep pressing the track button, you will notice there's actually a 10 slot for you to save your sample. So the one without the light is the one still empty. So in this case, I want to choose this 9. So I keep pressing this button and the 9. So it's gonna have a progress bar here, indicates we're gonna start a new sample here. So I'm pressing the I and 9. So now it's initialized correctly. If you keep pressing I, you will see the 9 flashing, meaning that we're gonna store the sample directly into the 9 slot. So what I would like to do is, in order to monitor what has been recorded into the OPZ, so firstly, we need to go into the sample mode. So we done that by pressing the stop and record button. So when you press that, we go into the sampler mode. As you can see here, sampler, right? There's a handy option. When you then hit the this I button, it will actually show a tone, indicate the A. And also there's a handy option. If you just press the play button, this will actually kind of turn on the monitor, so that everything you play on the computer will actually start to play back from the OPZ. So what I would like to do normally is that I will actually use the audio output to my external monitor, so that everything gets played through the OPZ will actually make the sound to the external speaker. So essentially what's happening here is that, as you can see, firstly, we choose the computer external speaker to OPZ sound card, so that anything gets played from the computer will play it through into the OPZ through the USB cable. So imagine the computer sound is coming from here through the USB cable into the OPZ. And because we are in the sampler mode, and I turn on this play button so that it's the monitor is on, so that anything gets played from the computer will actually play back through the audio output to my external speaker, so that I will understand what's being played. So now let's just try. So I will double click this kick sample. So you will actually hear a kick sound. Maybe I should choose something longer. Maybe an open hi-hat. As you can see, I double click, and then when I play, you can hear the sound from the OPZ. So that's already good to go. And I mean, you can actually use any media player in your computer to play the sound, but just for the sake of convenience, I choose the Ableton Live to play back my samples. So in the Ableton, you can actually choose the option Preference. And then from here, in the audio section, we do want to choose the audio output device to OPZ, right? So this is essentially to tell the Ableton Live that I want everything generate the sound output to the OPZ audio interface, right? It's essentially the same when you set the Windows output as that, right? So once that's done, we can click this test tone. So now we should be able to hear this test tone through the OPZ, right? So that means everything is have been configured correctly. So in here, I got a couple of samples from my drum boot impact. So I just basically drag and drop a couple of drum kit into the timeline here so I can play it. So first I'll make sure this track is solo, kick, snare, hi-hat, and clap. So I want to sample these 4 sounds into the OPZ now. So just restart. So what essentially you need to do, let's just go back again. So now we're in the play mode, right? In the play mode, in order to go into the sample mode, we need to actually click the stop plus the record. And then you will see it turns into the sampler mode. And in the sampler mode, we turn on the monitor by hitting the play button. Now, when we're actually talking about the sampling, what you want to do is to keep holding this record button. It will actually, as long as you keep holding the button, it will start to sample anything gets played through the computer. So I will stop because I didn't play anything yet. So now I will actually hit the play in the Ableton Live, and in the meantime also holding the record button so that it will play through these 4 samples into the OPZ sampler. So now it's done. I can release my button. Okay, as you can see, the sample is in here, and the OPZ has internal algorithm to actually assign the 4 sound into different buttons, but it's not that accurate. So what we might need to do is to go to the first button, and you can tweak where the sample start and where does that end. So the first disk is controlling where you want this sample to start. So in this case, we might want to move closer to the start of the kick, and then you can press this button to try the sound. That's good. And we might want to move the end. So this is the start position, this is the end position. So we move the end position to a little bit longer. Now, that's a kick sound. So we might want this button to be the second snare, right? So we find the starting point of the snare, and the end point of the snare. Let's try that. Maybe make it a little bit longer. Great. Kick, snare. Now we want, okay. I think there's a little bit more on the end of the snare, so I move back a bit to remove the hi-hat sound. Now it's better. We want to make this button the hi-hat. So we find it. This is the hi-hat. So we move the starting point to the hi-hat and move the it's a bit tricky to actually move for the shorter sample, but let's adjust. Okay. Oh, it's actually not the sorry, I moved too quick. So let me just move back a bit. Yeah, I think this is the hi-hat starting point and the end point. That's the hi-hat. We want to make the last sample as the clap. So kick, snare, hi-hat, and clap, sampled from computer. Now it's ready. We can just exit the sampler mode by hitting the stop button. Now it's going back to the normal mode. So in this mode, because we are choosing the kick like the first track, so we can start to play around with that. This is the kick, snare, hi-hat, right? So what we can do actually do the kick snare thing, right? So we do the first kick. Let's do a 4/4 on the floor, right? And then we maybe do the second as the snare. We change the 2 and 4 to snare, and then maybe every interval we just choose the hi-hat. Right? So this is all played from the sample we sampled from the computer. Right, so this is how you do the short sample like the drum kit sample. There's also another type of the sample you can do, which is the synth engine. So what we can do here in Ableton Live, we might want to sample a single lead sound and then use that to the track 5 to 8. So basically the first 4 tracks are designed to sample the drum kit, like the different sounds, short sound. And then from the 5 to 8 track are designed to sample the synth sound, so you can play the scales based on a single lead sound, for example. So let me just choose one. So let's just, for example, choose the bass track. And in this case, as you notice, when I keep hitting the track and bass, currently selecting the first slot. So in order to use the sample slot, you still need to hit the 9. So you may already know that each individual track, actually, in order to sample into each individual track, you actually have to each time to select the correct slot. So they are stored separately based on different tracks. So now I choose the track bass and it's 9, right? Now it's ready to sample. Again, I go into the sample mode by hitting the stop and record button and turn on the monitor. Now let's find the proper lead sound. So in this case, that's good. It's better to sample the, what is called, the A. So let's find A, C, D, E, F, G, A. So that's A sound. Let's just sample that sound actually. So I'm just gonna hit record, and on the computer I'm hitting my keyboard to play the A sound. Okay, now it's sampled. As you can see, there's some silence in front of the starting point. Let's just move the starting points to the very beginning of the sound. The end point is probably good enough. Let's hear it. That doesn't look like A. So as you can see, the yellow disc controls the pitch. I don't know why it keeps telling me -9. Let me just back to 0. So this 0 means we don't do any pitch shifting. That's good. So now if we exit the sampler mode, remember we're on the bass track, we can start to play that sound, right? Right? Just as if this is the normal synth track. Okay, now we sample the drum kit, we sample the synth sound. Now there's another way to sample the longer sound. Actually, what I mean is that sometimes I want to sample the whole loop of the sound because it's either very hard to recreate from the short sample I made, or I just simply want to 100% preserve the sound from the computer or the other track. So it's better to actually sample the whole loop into some track. So there's a limitation of the length. So I think let's try the second track actually. Let's first exit the mode and let's choose the track 2. And again, let's choose 9. Okay, now we're good. So we go into the sample mode again, stop and record, and hit the play for monitoring purpose. So now, let's choose a loop track. So in this case, I want to maybe sample something like this loop. Maybe this is a good one. So this is the drum loop I made for this sound. Let's just hear it. So this is the purple area is the one I want to sample. As you can see, there's a lot of going on in terms of which which drum kit I'm playing. So I want to sample the whole thing as a single track, right? And basically ask the OPZ to play it back. So I think for the first 4 tracks, the drum kit tracks, the limitation are 12 seconds. So you need to make sure it's actually within the 12 seconds, right? So I make sure this is solo. So I'm just gonna play it and sample into the track 2, right? Okay, so now I'm in the sample mode. I'm gonna hit the record and play in the meantime. Okay, great. So now let's do a little bit adjustment to move to the, actually, because I just want to make the whole thing a single sample, so I move the starting point all the way to the very beginning. And then move the end point to all the way to the end. So we can hear it by pressing this button. Oh, sorry, actually, I'm on the wrong spot. I think first I need to choose this one to be the one to play the sample. So I'll just move it again to the beginning and then the end. Okay, great. So let's hear it. Great. So now we can exit the sample mode. Now let's actually, so because I want to play it back for the longer time, so what I might need to do is to make this track longer, right? So this can be done by hitting the track button and the shift. Now it's like a one bar. So I want to make it like 4 bars, right? And then once I done that, I want to actually just hit the first button so that it just play it once throughout the 4 bars. Let's try that. Interestingly, as you can see, because I also got the first track as the shorter drum kit, I can start to combine those different drum kit with the loop, right? So it's kind of playing together perfectly. Now let's try to sample something else. Maybe we sample the pad, right? The whole pad as the loop. So I'll choose the 3rd track and then still holding the track and the 9 so that it's ready to sample, monitor. Okay, right, so we choose a pad now. Maybe, so this is the loop I recorded earlier using my mini log. So I make it solo. Let's just first hear it. So basically so as you can see, this is the long chord progression as the background pads. And I try to use the built-in OPZ to recreate this sound, but it's very hard because this is sampled from the Minilog, the analog synthesizer. So it got this very good vibe. I can't recreate on the OPZ built-in synth engine. So that's why I want to sample the whole progression as the a single sample. Now the problem is this is probably longer than the 12 seconds, right? So the way I find to work around that is I actually break that up. I sample this first bit, the first 4 bars, maybe on the track 3, and then the later part on the 4th track, right? So that it can play together, right? So now let's just first sample the first 4 bars. So in order to not interfere with each other, I just move away a bit. So I'll just play the first 4 bars. Okay, let's get back to the beginning. Now let's record. Okay, now it's done. Let's just still choose the let's choose the beginning of the sample and then the end of the sample. Right, so now let's go back, and because I want to make it 4 bar, so I choose the track shift and 4. Let's see if that's good enough. Maybe it's 4 or 8. Let's put the first. Great. So now we just need to sample the latter part of the pads. Let's choose the track, the 4th track, and the 9 again, into the sample mode, monitor. Now, I want to play these beats, right? make it a little bit clear. So starting from here to here is the latter part of the progression. Now let's record add sample. Okay, now let's choose the first sample slot and then move to the beginning and all the way to the end. Great. Now let's exit the sampler mode. Because I want this latter part to be played only after the first 4 bars, so what I might need to do is, firstly, I should actually go back to the third track and actually make it, instead of 4 bars, make it 8 bars, right? So that among the 8 bars, only the first time, the first 4 bars, it will trigger the first latter part, the first part once. Now I go to the 4th track, which stores the latter part of the progression. Let's just select the length of the track, 8 bars as well. So in that case, it will play along the full 8 bars. And what I might need to do is to, on the second half, to trigger the sample, right? So that the track 3 will play the first 4 bars, and then the track 4 will play the 5 to 8 bars. So it can form the whole progression. Now let's hear it all together. Wonderful. Now we can kind of switch to the, the bass sound, the lead sound we sampled, and just start to improvise, right? Right. I think that's all I want to show you today. So to recap, what we did so far is to use 3 ways to sample using the OPZ, right? The first one is to use the drum slot to sample kind of the drum kit, different short samples as a full drum kit, so you can play with it. The second way is to sample a single instrument sound, and then later on use the keyboard to play it back. This is exclusive for the 5 to 8 track. The third way is to sample the full loops, as I showed you just now. So now with these 3 ways of sampling, it fully turns this OPZ into your personal instrument, I would say. If you enjoy what you see, please like the video and considering subscribe this channel, where I create the synth tutorial and also some live jamming now and then. Okay, that's all I want to show you today. Have a nice day.